You shouldn't do things differently just because they're different. They need to be better. When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. Talent is extremely important. It's like a sports team. The team that has the best individual player will often win, but then there's a multiplier from how those players work together and the strategy they employ. Some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is a disaster. I don't think it's a good idea to plan to sell a company. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. We have a strict no assholes policy at SpaceX. The path to the CEO's office should not be through the CFO's office, and it should not be through the marketing department. It needs to be through engineering and design. Really pay attention to negative feedback and solicit it, particularly from friends. Hardly anyone does that, and it's incredibly helpful. Persistence is very important. You should not give up unless you are forced to give up. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. If you're co-founder or CEO, you have to do all kinds of tasks you might not want to do. If you don't do your chores, the company won't succeed. No task is too menial. There's a tremendous bias against taking risks. Everyone is trying to optimize their ass covering. Don't delude yourself into thinking something's working when it's not, or you're gonna get fixated on a bad solution. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket, as long as you control what happens to that basket. Being an entrepreneur is like eating glass and staring into the abyss of death. Brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead, other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. I think we have a duty to maintain the light of consciousness to make sure it continues into the future. Starting and growing a business is as much about the innovation, drive, and determination of the people behind it as the product they sell. You have to say, well, why did it succeed where others did not? People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. I say something and then it usually happens. Maybe not on schedule, but it usually happens. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportion. I don't spend my time pontificating about high-concept things. I spend my time solving engineering and manufacturing problems. My biggest mistake is probably weighing too much on someone's talent and not someone's personality. I think it matters whether someone has a good heart. I don't create companies for the sake of creating companies, but to get things done. The first step is to establish that something is possible. Then probability will occur. Brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead, other times it will be behind. But a brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. It's very important to like the people you work with, otherwise life and your job is gonna be quite miserable. As much as possible, avoid hiring MBAs. MBA programs don't teach people how to create companies. People should pursue what they're passionate about. That will make them happier than pretty much anything else. I think you should always bear in mind that entropy is not on your side. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day, otherwise it's not. I wouldn't say I have a lack of fear. In fact, I'd like my fear emotion to be less because it's very distracting and fries my nervous system. When Henry Ford made cheap, reliable cars, people said, "Nah, what's wrong with a horse?" That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. If humanity doesn't land on Mars in my lifetime, I would be very disappointed. I've actually not read any books on time management. What makes innovative thinking happen? I think it's really a mindset. You have to decide. Disruptive technology, where you really have a big technology discontinuity, tends to come from new companies. If something has to be designed and invented, and you have to figure out how to ensure that the value of the thing you create is greater than the cost of the inputs, then that is probably my core skill. I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right. Life is too short for long-term grudges. I would like to die on Mars, just not on impact. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more video.